one of the newer appendices you added, I wanted to highlight was says playing the game in training, because I think this is the idea. If I'm my understanding of this is how often when someone's like they know they're in a training environment or it's like a simulation of something, and then because of that they try and find ways to like, all right, well I'm going to do this and to play and like game the system so they do better at it, but they don't
Right.
actually get the training value out of what you were supposed to be there for. Why did you feel like that was really important to include?
Well, basically, a number of years ago, I I did a really did a really deep analysis of tactical training, and I identified a number of principles. And one of them was um, basically it's innovation is followed by innovation followed by stagnation, um, and delay of consequence, and decay of content. And the one you're asking about is delay of consequence, because you're cutting corners, and if you ain't cheat, I mean, one of the things I can't stand
You ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
when people talk about you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, it's usually with a big dumb stupid grin on their face.
Just like I'm doing right now. Except I've heard it so many times.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's just like, I go, here, I got a better one for you. If you cheat in training, you're stealing from yourself. So once upon a time, and I'll admit this is this is one of the most military concepts, because it was from a period of time when and it's like, it's not a military concept. I mean, you want to find people that you know think that if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. I mean, you just look at the people in uniform today. But the thing is, it's like, back in the day, these people were either coming from a war or they were getting ready to go for the next war, and they took life really seriously. And so basically, they would they had this thing that was called playing the game, and I actually learned about it from some really seasoned Vietnam veterans when I was a lot younger. And these guys were talking about, yeah, playing the game. It's like playing the game in training. And it took me a long time to really understand what they were talking about. And it was just basically a case of, um, you know, you it's a training environment. You know that you're not going to get killed. You know he's not going to stick you with a knife. You know he's not going to shoot you, but you still behave as if the sanction for any mistake you make is death. And that's because, and part of the problem is why I call it delay of consequence is that you don't find out that you were trained wrong until it's too late. Mm-hmm. I tell people, I said, look, if you want to become a fighter pilot in the Air Force, you go in as a second lieutenant, and they start off with, classroom work, ground school, and then they put you in a trainer, and then you keep on moving up to more and more complicated things. If you're a screw up in the sky, they're going to cut you from the program before you kill yourself, or more importantly, damage this bazillion-dollar airplane. Okay? And it doesn't matter how nice a guy you are, or it's like, well, it's Monday morning or it's Friday afternoon. You know what? You're dangerous, but you're dangerous in a cockpit. Okay? Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, you just don't have it. Same thing with the Navy. You come in as an ensign, there's this long process before you're ever, if you're a bridge officer, there's this whole long process you have to go through before the captain ever allows you to take the ship out of harbor. Because if you're the type that's going to ram the ship into another one or do something stupid like that, they're going to cut you from the program before that happens. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the infantry, you show up as a second lieutenant, You're out in the woods somewhere. You're shooting blanks. People are shooting blanks at you. You do something completely wrong, you know. And the thing is, unless it's in most training programs, unless it's a really egregious mistake, it's like, well, his platoon sergeant will square him away. And then it's like years later, they find out that, man, this guy doesn't know what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or, it's a case of, you know what? Turns out that, we weren't hard enough on this guy in training. And when the bullets started going overhead, he threw his rifle down and started running away. Okay. To tie this into sniping, my favorite example of delay of consequence is when people talk about the significance of humidity in rifle shooting. Okay. Because it's just so stupid. The first Army sniper manual after the 50s was TC 23-14, and the draft copy came out in 1968. And then the final one came out in 1969. But even before that, if you looked in the Marine Corps sniper manuals, and they're still around. I mean, you can still find this stuff. So basically, when you look up ballistics, and they talk about, well, you'll either find, well, humidity, the humid air is more dense. So for every 20% change in humidity from what you zeroed at, you need to raise your sights because the bullet's going to be passing through dense air. Or the other one that cracks me up is there was an Army manual, and they're talking about yes, humidity. This is one of these things you need to keep a good data book and figure this out for yourself. And I'm sitting here reading this, going, I would think by the time you're in a position to be asked to write a sniper manual for the military, you would have a strong opinion on the matter one way or another. But now here's the part that everybody misses. And in fact, it wasn't until 2017 with the latest Army sniper manual. It was written by a terrific NCO by the name of Christopher Rance, who was an instructor at the Fort Benning Sniper School. And his is the first manual that corrects this, because if you look at every manual between 2017 and 1968, when it talks about humidity, it says that humid air is more dense and you need to raise the sights. The trouble is, it's completely opposite. Humid air is less dense than dry air. And if anything, you would need to lower the sights. But the thing is, nobody goes to the range with a hygrometer to read humidity. Therefore, nobody was actually applying this stuff for the decades that it was repeated in manuals. So you had a bunch of people that, hey, Matt, I need you to revise the last edition of the sniper manual. And it's like, well, I've never compensated for humidity on the range, but I don't want to look stupid, so I'm just going to cut and paste this into the new manual. You know where they get it right? The Army manual on how to fly a helicopter. Okay, so when the pilot is doing his atmosphere calculations, he has to know humid air is less dense than dry air. So now, see, there's no delay of consequence, because if you get it wrong flying a helicopter, you're either not going to be able to take off or you're going to crash when you land. But just writing any bogus thing in an Army sniper manual, for years and years and years, people kept on repeating this stuff without ever actually doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the delay of
So it's just one of those, like, I can totally see this going, like you just said, like, well, who am I to challenge this? I've never tested it. Sounds reasonable. We'll leave it. And then,
yeah, exactly. So with playing the game, you used to see that a lot, where when the Army was doing POW training, because the thing is, it's like, look, I know you're really not going to kill me. You're really not going to break my arm. Okay. You're really not going to execute me out here in the street. But all of that understood, when somebody captures you and they're pointing a 45 at you with either unloaded or nothing but blanks in it, you still hold up your hands and go, okay, I'll play the game. You got me. All right. I'm not going to, I'm not going to call out to anybody, because it's like in real life, this guy would shoot me. Mm-hmm. So that was, and the thing is, it's like, I found out that had like disappeared so much in tactical culture that I had to reintroduce it with that additional chapter.
Well, so